The 2024 season for the Pittsburgh Steelers is upon us. So what are the things that the Steelers need to do this offseason in order to become Super Bowl contenders come next year? I've got 8 things that I want Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin to take advantage of here during the 2024 offseason over these next couple months here, next many months actually. But before I get into that, go ahead and click that subscribe button right now to not miss a thing this offseason. This is one of the most important offseasons in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion, all right? This is a season that could really make or break the future of this franchise. We're going to have you covered with every breaking news story. If they trade for Justin Fields, when they hire their new offensive coordinator, whenever they sign somebody in free agency, we're going to have you covered. And speaking of free agency, we're going to have you covered with the players that they're targeting, the players that they should target. We're going to have content for you just about every day leading up to free agency and breaking news coverage when it finally gets here, and then also the NFL draft, in-depth scouting reports, Steelers mock drafts every single week. We're going to have you covered with exclusive and in detail Steelers draft coverage pretty much every single day leading up to the big day there in Detroit. And then also we got a weekly live show here on the channel every single week during the offseason, letting you guys know the latest on the Pittsburgh Steelers every single week. And oh yeah, all that is 100% free. So what are you waiting for right now? If you love the Pittsburgh Steelers and you want to become an expert on this football team this offseason, click that subscribe button right now to never miss a story this year. So let's start with my number one thing, and this is already taken care of, all right? Finalize the head coach. And that's what they did on the first day of the offseason, which is they absolutely locked up Mike Tomlin. So this is Mike Garafolo's report here saying in a team meeting today, talking about Tuesday, Mike Tomlin told Steelers players the speculation about him stepping away is unfounded, and he plans on coaching the team in 2024. This is great news for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Mike Tomlin is one of the top 3 best leaders, locker room leaders in the National Football League. And I think this roster is just a couple moves away from becoming true Super Bowl contenders just next season. Number 2 on my list, now that you know Mike Tomlin is staying in town here, you got to get the right offensive play caller, the right OC. And listen, man, we know Mike Sullivan, the interim, probably not the guy, or at least he shouldn't be the guy. Mike Tomlin in the past has loved to hire from within the building. That can't happen this time. You have to bring in somebody with bringing in new ideas, modern concepts, all these different things. And we're going to actually have a video on the biggest head or offensive coordinator candidates. But here's my top 5. Or I'm going to spoil the top 5 for you guys right here. Eric Bieniemy is my number 1 choice. He's friends with Mike Tomlin. His coaching approach fits the Steelers' culture. And I think that he brings a lot of great modern concepts that you see in places like Kansas City and, of course, Washington this year that I think is really structurally sound and I think would work really well with the talents available on the Steelers offense. Then the last 4 names on my list here all come from the Shanahan or McVay tree, all right? We know that this new school West Coast offense, all the top offenses in the league run this type of system. So I love the QB's coach out of Miami, Darrell Bevell, somebody that's won a Super Bowl as an offensive play caller, and now somebody that has learned the new school West Coast from Mike McDaniel. I'd also like Clint Kubiak, the pass game coordinator from San Francisco, Brian Griese, the quarterback's coach there with Kyle Shanahan in the Bay, and then Zach Robinson, the quarterback's coach from the Los Angeles Rams, would also be a great hire as well. But for me personally, guys, I think that Eric Bieniemy is the correct choice here for Mike Tomlin. I think that he is such a good fit, both from a culture standpoint and from a schematic standpoint, can bring in new ideas that Mike Tomlin and his offensive coordinators have not implemented in this defense, or in this offense, I should say, for a very, very long time. I think EB is the answer. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Who's the guy that you want? You know I want Eric Bieniemy. Now who do you want? Do you want Byron Leftwich? Do you want somebody else? Let me know down there in the comment section. Who would you like to see as the next offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers? This is going to be the pinned comment of today's show. So at some point, YouTube's going to throw you an ad break. When that happens, go down to the comment section, find that pinned comment. It's right there at the top of the comment section, and let me know who you want as the next OC of the Steelers. Next on my list here, you got to decide on a quarterback, all right? And this is going to be a bit fickle here for the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into the 2024 offseason because there's not a ton of cap space for them to work with. So it's not like you can just go into free agency or via trade and get a guy with a massive cap hit, an established star quarterback that's going to get you over the hump, right? I think they have negative $6 million in cap space heading into the 2024 offseason. Now, of course, the cap's going to change with the new league year, and they're going to restructure, and they're going to cut players, and they're going to find space. But are they going to be able to pay a quarterback $30+ million to be their quarterback next season? I just don't think they have the money to do that. But also, Kenny Pickett, through his first 2 years, has definitely not shown enough to have full confidence in him to be the bona fide starter. It's not like, to me, I think you can just go with him and then get like a low-level backup and just trust Pickett is going to be able to get the job done for you. So the two most likely options, in my opinion, for the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason is either they bring back Pickett to start, but they bring in a high-end backup quarterback just in case he stinks in the new offense, or they will kind of push their chips into the center of the table, trade their first-round pick this year to go out and get Justin Fields. And listen, let's talk a little bit about backup quarterback options. Some of these high-end backups that are going to be coming out here, don't think Mason Rudolph is an option, because every time Pickett throws a bad throw, it's going to be, we want Mason. And that's not good for Kenny Pickett, all right? So if you're going to bring back Kenny, I think you want to bring in a new backup quarterback. These are the 5 names I would consider. Brissett, especially if you bring in Eric Bieniemy. Brissett was awesome in his offense this year, and if Pickett stinks, I actually think Brissett could even win a playoff game with the Pittsburgh Steelers next season as the starting quarterback. But personally, I'd rather go the Justin Fields route, man. I've been saying this on the show all week long. I want to push my chips in the center of the table. I want to swing for the fences. All right, I'd rather swing for the fences, and then if Fields hit, this team becomes an instant title contender. Or if he fails, you can fire Mike Tomlin. You can start new with a new head coach. You can rebuild for the first time in a long, long time and kind of start from scratch. But what you can't do, in my opinion, is stick with all of these quarterbacks that are mediocre, because that puts a ceiling on how far you can go. I don't see Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph or Jacoby Brissett going up with the likes of Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence in the future. All these great young quarterbacks in the league today, they're just not on the same level. So I want to go get somebody with that level of talent. The only guy the Steelers can afford at that talent level is Justin Fields, so I'd trade the first-round pick to go get him. So coming up next, I got more off-season checklist items for you guys. I got 5 more on my list to share with you guys. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Factor Meals, who are going to try and help you achieve your New Year's resolutions this year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery service takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores and the prep work and the cooking fatigue, and of course those dishes at the end of the meal, man. We know how much we hate doing dishes. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered straight to your door with over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, and more. Plus over 55 weekly add-ons. You have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your New Year's resolutions. What's even better is that Factor now offers loads of snack options like breakfast, smoothies, juices, snacks, and more to keep you going no matter what's on the schedule. Shout out to Factor for sending Coop and I some of their delicious smoothies, some of their delicious meals that just take 2 minutes in the microwave. And guess what? You don't have to do dishes at the end of the day, which is absolutely awesome. Head on over to factormeals.com/SteelersChat50 and use code SteelersChat50 to get 50% off. That's code SteelersChat50 at factormeals.com/SteelersChat50 to get 50% off Factor Meals today. And I think that this is one that all Steelers fans can agree on here. You got to get a new starting center because Mason Cole stinks. All right, this guy is not a good center in this league. All right, you look at the Pro Football Focus grade this year, 53.2, which is good for 30th in the league. That's not good enough for your starting center. All right, I like James Daniels. Right, I like Isaac Seumalo. I think Broderick Jones is going to have a real nice second year in this league. But, you know, there's still a couple holes on this offensive line, and center is definitely one you have to address if you're Omar Khan in the Steelers front office. Speaking of the other hole on this offensive line, you got to get another starting offensive tackle this offseason. Now, whether this be via free agency, whether this be via trade, whether this be via the draft, I don't care. Fill the center position, fill the offensive tackle position, because I like Broderick Jones. I think he's going to be with this team for a long time. Everything that I'm hearing out of that building is saying that he is an excellent leader. He is somebody that the players really respect in that building, and somebody that people think is going to be really good in this league. Really like what I'm seeing from him. but Dan Moore Jr. and Chukwuma Okorafor have to go, at least in terms of the starting offensive line. You got to put somebody on the other side of Broderick, whether that be on the left or right side. I trust them to make that decision, but it can't be Dan Moore Jr. or Chukwuma Okorafor. They both have to go. Now, I really do think that Broderick Jones is probably going to be moving over to the left side. And if you want to be going over to the like side, go ahead, click that like button right now. Thumbs up for if you are a real one. Really do appreciate all of you guys for all of your support. If you're a real one, you guys know what to do. Clicking that thumbs up icon, taking that half second really does help us out here at Steelers Talk. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. And with that, let's get to the final 3 items on this checklist. Starting with the secondary here, which is that you got to move Patrick Peterson to safety. And listen, I think yesterday it really showed that Patrick Peterson moving back to outside corner now that Minkah Fitzpatrick was back in the lineup, Pat Pete just doesn't have the speed to cover these shifty types of receivers on the outside anymore. And I really do think that he showed that, his instincts, his ability to read quarterbacks' eyes, that was really put on full display when he was able to play free safety. And I think if you combine the talents of both Minkah Fitzpatrick and Patrick Peterson at the safety position next year as your primary safeties, I think that's a combination that could absolutely work. Now, if you move Patrick inside to safety, that means you got to find a replacement for him on the outside to put on the other side of Joey Porter Jr. So that's the next thing on this checklist is you got to get another outside corner. And listen, whether this be through the draft, whether this be through free agency with a guy like Jalen Johnson, if you can partner Joey Porter Jr. up with another legitimate lockdown corner on the other side, or at least a good starter, right? I think this secondary is going to be nasty with Minkah Fitzpatrick, Patrick Peterson, Joey Porter Jr., whoever's on the other side of JPJ, and then hopefully they can get a good nickel guy as well at some point during this offseason. But I think definitely the outside cornerback position, more of a premium position, that's one I would rather go out and get and spend a little bit more capital on than the nickelback position. Then we get to the final thing on my checklist here, and that's to draft another wide receiver. Now, I guess you could maybe go out and get a wide receiver in free agency as your number 3 guy, but because Deontay Johnson is going into a contract year, and I'm not sure the Steelers are going to extend him, you want to kind of cover all of your bases and get a really promising young wide receiver that could potentially step into a number 2 role if Deontay Johnson ends up walking in free agency in 2025. If you don't bring in somebody young and new that could end up replacing him 2 seasons from now, he's going to have all the leverage in negotiations. And listen, if you think he's making too much money right now, I mean, just wait if he gets the leverage, all right? Because this guy's a good wide receiver. I know the Steelers like him. It's going to be interesting to see if he stays. And listen, if you keep DJ and you have another really good wide receiver on a rookie contract, you got 3 really good receivers in George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, and whoever they bring in. So I think drafting another receiver within the first 2 days of the draft is something Omar Khan needs to do, and I think it would benefit this franchise for the long run and the short term. So make sure you guys get down there in the comments section. Give me your confidence level in Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin, and the Steelers front office heading into this offseason. Put it on a scale of 1 to 10 for me, 1 being not confident at all, they stink, to 10, super confident, they're going to make the right decisions. I have no doubt about it. That's going to be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. Again, this is going to be a massive offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we're going to be covering every single story of it right here on the channel, 100% free. So if you love the Pittsburgh Steelers and you don't want to miss a thing this offseason, do me a favor, click that subscribe button right now.